the Chamber Vibes, Morning Vibes. Good morning, Woody. How are you?
I'm here.
You're here. Well, me too. So good news. It's really not a mirage or, I'm really here.
Nope.
In life. Life, here we come. Gosh, it's Wednesday.
Already. Thank goodness.
I am praising the Lord. It is Wednesday. So hump day and exciting. It's beautiful outside.
Yes.
The sun is shining. I think I heard some birds chirping and the flowers are blooming. They are totally blooming because there's a ton of pollen out there, but I'm going to focus on the positive.
I can feel it and I can sense it. So
yes, it's crazy out there. My eyes are a little bit red, but yeah, I'm just loving the weather. And we'll embrace these beautiful days. So what's going on with you, Woody? Lots going on.
Yeah, lots going on.
Seen you everywhere.
Yeah, we went to Yorktown this past weekend.
Oh my goodness.
Well, it rained 90% of the time, but it was fine. That was fine. We stayed in the room half the time and enjoyed it, relaxed. It made us relax, which was
there
nice.
You go.
So yeah, we had a great trip though. I love Williamsburg, and
it's
just
so quaint.
That whole everything about it is just wonderful. But it's always nice to come home though. So
right, but a nice little getaway for you too, lovebirds.
Yes,
that's
awesome. Having a wonderful time. So
good.
Yeah,
always nice to hear. Well, so what have we got? Do you have any celebrations for us?
We have several days today.
Oh boy!
Today, well, they're all over the board, which I just don't understand.
They always do that. There's no rhyme or reason.
I do not understand the vast difference of topics on national days. However, these are really good days, though. All of them are good days.
Good.
Okay, so the first one, it's National Third Shift Workers Day.
Third shift.
So to all you third shift workers, bless you.
Bless them.
Bless you so much.
Yes.
National School Nurse Day.
Okay, they deserve this day.
National Receptionist Day. So
awesome.
That's a great, see, so far we're doing great. This is my favorite right here, National Eat What You Want Day.
Oh, love it.
I love that. National
We
Foam.
can embrace that.
National Foam Rolling Day. I don't
even know what that is.
I don't know what that is. And National Twilight Zone Day, which is what it's amazing. And I think I will celebrate that later today.
You know you will.
I love that show, and I will absolutely watch it later today.
I heard your show the other night. Oh my goodness. Out of nowhere, you were reading a story. It was like a murder mystery. And I was like, oh my goodness, he really is doing that. Because, I don't listen to that
I'm all
stuff.
over the board.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to tell him this is a little scary.
Yeah.
A little out there. But anyway, exciting. I love the national days of celebration, and we can all have one, because you can register for your national celebration day in case you didn't know.
Yeah. National Celebrate Whatever You Want to Day.
You can make it happen. And that's what we're all about at the Chamber of Commerce. But we're about good vibes. And we have a great vibe for you today. Our guest is awesome. He's fighting the good fight. Delegate Wendell Walker is here with us. Welcome, Wendell.
Well, good morning, Wendy. It's great to be with you. Such a beautiful day. And we're having to sit here in this studio when I could be outside planting my flowers and making my wife very happy.
Oh, well, I know you are all the time. You absolutely are. And so we're just excited to have you. I mean, I feel blessed for you to come out today. We just heard from you on the legislative wrap up and after the General Assembly. And so thank you for coming in and helping us to tell the story of what's going on to the rest of the folks out there who are interested. I know they are waiting to hear all the decisions and everything that's going on behind the scenes, but you are truly fighting the good fight for us. So thank you. And I want to tell everybody a little bit about you. First and foremost, you were first elected in 2019, and you're a conservative Republican currently representing the 23rd House District in the Virginia House of Delegates. And your area includes Lynchburg, Bedford, Amherst. And so you are currently serving on the House with the Health, Welfare and Institutions, Finance, and General Law Committees. So thank you for that. And then prior to this life that you have just joined in 19, you were a small business owner and in Lynchburg, and you spent 21 years working in workforce development. And so we want to hear a little bit about your small business and about your experience, your background. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, Wendy, I came from Georgia in 1975 to be one of the students of a great university, Liberty University. And upon completion of there, I started a landscape contracting business because I grew up around farming and South Georgia. So farming and gardening, landscaping was just in my blood. I always had that green thumb. So I enjoyed that for about 20 years. And after I got worn out from that, then I took a job with the Virginia Department of Labor and Industry as an apprenticeship consultant. And I enjoyed working with people. So the great part about this job was actually going out and working with young people, helping them develop a career and get the training they need to be skilled workers. Certainly we need great workforce training in Virginia. And so upon retirement, I thought I would be able to enjoy life for a while. But then this opportunity came up to run for the House of Delegates for the 23rd District, and the gracious people of this district supported me. And it's a joy actually working in Richmond on behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth here in this district. Bedford is a great county out here. Great people just enjoy helping individuals, especially, businesses, having been a small business person before. Certainly a lot of challenges out here. So that's part of what we try to do is make life better, easier for folks, and make sure we have a strong workforce for Virginia.
Yes, and we absolutely do. I always tell people we have the best representatives for our area, and we really do, bar none. And, you guys are pro-business advocates trying to really fight the good fight for our small businesses who need that help. They don't need more taxes. They don't need to be taxed to death and taxed out of business. And so we appreciate you doing that and really standing in the gap for them. And we, of course, want our businesses to get more involved too, so that they can, express their concerns and, make sure that we're doing all that we need to do as a Chamber of Commerce too, letting them know, keeping them informed. And so glad you're here today. So we're going to dive right in. But first, so we talked about your hobbies. You still like to landscape, right?
When I leave here, I'm going to stop at the nursery and pick up some more annuals so I can put in for my flower beds here.
Oh, beautiful.
So getting close to completing the project.
Well, we need to see a picture. So send that. And we'd love to do that. So right now is the best time too. I mean, it's so beautiful. So, but you've really been on the front lines, I know, with the General Assembly this past session, and it was a long session. And I know the budget is due by June 30th. So that's coming up. And so where are we? Let's talk about some hot topics, gas tax. When are we going to get some help at the gas pump?
Oh, that is definitely a much needed help that we need. Serving on the Finance Committee, along with my good friend, Delegate Kathy Byron, we went down and we passed the gas tax on the House side of the General Assembly. And then when it went over to the Senate side, there's just for some reason or another, the Senate just hasn't warmed up to our governor. Our governor wants to give the citizens of the Commonwealth tax relief. And that's what happened. It ran into a brick wall, and they said, no, we don't want to help the citizens of the Commonwealth. We'll just give them a $50 credit card. Well, a $50 credit card wouldn't buy enough fuel for me to travel down here and back in my diesel truck.
Right. I saw your diesel truck. Nice. But yeah, I mean, it's taken, a hit on everyone for sure.
So food tax, fuel tax, all of these are tax relief that people want. Virginia needs real solutions, not more taxes. And that's one thing I'm so happy to work with our area legislators and the governor. We want to find solutions for the citizens of the Commonwealth, especially right here in our districts.
Well, how about that grocery tax? Speaking of taxes, let's just keep it going.
Okay, so here's where we are. We have a budget that right now is waiting to be determined. The conferees are dealing with that. Generally, we would get that budget completed by the end of session. This year, there's still about 40 bills left to be completed that have appropriations tied to them. And so the conferees are trying to work through, in Virginia, the Constitution requires that we have a balanced budget. So there's a lot of numbers that we have to work with to make sure everything balances at the end. When we go back to Richmond, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, certainly by June 30th, because what's happening with a lot of these localities out here, whether it's your cities and your counties, they're saying, when are we going to know how much money we have to spend? Because it ties their hands a little bit to some degree. So hopefully we'll resolve that issue pretty soon. There may be some help on the gas tax and the food tax, but we really won't know until the budget is actually presented to us and we vote for it. But we do want to find solutions to the tax increases for the citizens of the Commonwealth here.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody needs a little help at this time. And so let's get into some other topics, of course, that are really that everyone's wanting to know about. And one being safety in schools. I know this was something that was brought up and you worked on.
Yeah, so that is certainly a hot topic because your wonderful sheriff here in Bedford County, Mike Miller, came to me with some help. In the public schools out here, sometimes there can be situations that could turn into a violent situation, whether it's ball games or school or whatever. And so he said, what can we do to ensure that we have a working relationship with the schools and our law enforcement when they need that help? It's great to have school resource officers in our schools where the funding is there. Sometimes that can be an issue. But one of the things that we were trying to do is to make sure that the school board and the school superintendent, if they needed help from law enforcement, that they had that relationship they could step in and help. We don't want to tell the schools what to do, how to do, but certainly Sheriff Miller was a great help there. He testified before the Education Committee on this. What is so sad is that the VEA and other organizations like this do not want school resource officers or public safety officers in the schools. And can you imagine that? Schools should be the safest place that parents can send their kids each and every day.
Yes.
And how many horrible situations do we have to hear before we make change? So I applaud Sheriff Miller for helping me with this bill. It did pass in the House on a party line vote. It went over to the Senate, and the Senate didn't like it, and so they killed it. But that's not the end of it, because I do plan to bring it back. Because I believe public safety is extremely important in all of our schools out here.
Yeah, and I feel like most parents are feeling that same way, that they really do want anything and everything to protect their children, from any harm. And the more that we know, the more we can do to protect our kids, whatever it takes.
Absolutely. If you have a safe learning environment, which is great, and we're seeing over this past year, and certainly with the leadership of Governor Youngkin, that more parents are getting involved in their schools. So whether it is the curriculum, the public safety, other issues, and that's really encouraging, because after all, it's the parents' responsibility for their children and the education and training. So I think Bedford's doing a good job with the parents being involved with the school board, the school superintendent, and having input. That's what makes education a much better environment.
It sure does. And, fighting for our freedoms. So continue that. So public safety funding. So we'll continue the school conversation. So as we're talking about safety of our kids, and how about teachers, raising salaries? Where are we with that, Wendell?
Okay, so we have in our budget increases both on the Senate and the House side. There's some difference in numbers of what percentage, but certainly paying teachers and law enforcement, that should be a priority out here, is ensuring that we have well-trained, qualified public safety teachers. And at the end of the day, they have to live just like the rest of us. And so that is a priority that the governor has put forth in the budget, is making sure that we have funding, to increase for these great servants of the public out here. And I think there's also funding also for some school construction out here and others. So really, without giving specific numbers until we get this budget finalized, there is a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll have some great news and we can move forward.
Yes, we are looking forward to that good news. And as you say, I believe when Virginians do well, Virginia does well.
Absolutely.
So I concur.
Why can't we be number one in the state?
That's right.
I mean, number one in the nation.
In the nation, yes.
Great education, yes. Great workforce, but it takes involvement, Wendy.
Yes.
People have to roll up their sleeves and get involved in the areas that they concern the most. And I think that's what helps us as legislators, understand the individual needs we have within our communities and how we can represent those voices in Richmond.
Yeah. And so we talked a little bit about that before, we started. What can each of us do to get more involved in changing the tide for our children and the next generation to make that greater impact on our community for better health and for a better place to live, work, and play for our kids?
Well, really, it starts at home. If we have great parents and we have children, we want to make sure that they have the best opportunities, just like we have enjoyed throughout our years here, then you have to get in and fight for those opportunities there. You have to work with your school systems and make sure that your curriculum and things that are being taught in the schools are the things that you feel comfortable with. You need to make sure that your law enforcement out here have the proper funding they need to protect our communities, safe schools. That's what everybody wants. But people have to step up to the plate and do their part. And being part of that, there's a place that everybody can be involved in. Whether you have a little time or whether you have a lot of time, involvement is important from the citizens if they want to have a great Commonwealth and enjoy the freedoms and liberties in which our country was built upon. It takes that involvement.
Right. And like we were talking about before, when you get involved and you're interested in your kids' sports and, music and dance and anything that they're involved in, it makes an impact and they understand that and it speaks to them. And so getting more involved in your community and in legislative issues will help everyone. And it'll actually show your kids, what's important to you and how can we make a difference for tomorrow. And knowledge is power. And so just finding out more about these issues and how we can change the situations for the next generation. Very important.
Well, an informed society is a great society. So the more you know and understand about issues that impact your life, so whether it's government regulations, whether it's taxes, businesses out here, that's what people want. They want a great community in which to grow and raise their family here. And certainly Bedford County has those opportunities right here before us. So what can we do to continue to improve and ensure that this is a great place to raise our family, educate, and work? And that's the reason I say going back to involvement here.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And so, you are such a great example. And so I think, telling everyone about what your mission statement is and what gets you excited every morning when you wake up.
Well, it's exciting to give back to society, to friends. I go back and think about the people that had the most impact. Certainly, your parents, your mom and your dad. And apart from that, here in Virginia, when I came to Liberty back in the 70s, I had the opportunity to sit under the feet of Dr. Fall at that time. And I say he's probably been the mentor that's had the most impact on my life as far as developing a vision and finding the talents that God's given you and how you can use those talents to help other people reach the fullness that, we want as far as society. And so that's part of the reason I enjoy helping people. It's about individuals. What can we do to help individuals where there's certain areas of need? Finding jobs, and how can they make their communities better? And rolling up your sleeves and being involved, whether it's in your churches, your community, sports, whatever. There's plenty of opportunities out here for people. So I think the important thing is just taking time to listen to people. As a legislator, that's what I try to do, spend more time listening and understanding what the issues are. So when we get to Richmond, we'll have a better idea of how we can go about, dealing with legislative matters that have an impact out here in our Commonwealth.
So who were some of your mentors? I know you mentioned your dad.
Well, as I mentioned, Dr. Jerry Falwell, had a great impact in the latter part of my life. He was actually the one that encouraged me to get into the political area and then now serving as elected official. And then my parents, certainly without question, being raised in a Christian home and knowing and understanding the love God has for us, then sharing that love with others out here. It just went hand in hand as I came through Liberty, and now I'm still out here trying to serve, the Lord, helping people and the area of government.
Yes, and supporting small business for sure. So let's talk a little bit about solar energy.
That is
Another hot topic.
Well, the governor coming in, I think, had a good understanding. We refer to it as Reggie, RIGGI. I'm about innovation and trying to find better ways by which we can improve our energy, but we cannot cut off the faucet to try something new. So we have these great resources that I believe God has given us. It's our natural gas, our fuel, and things like that we have depended on for years. And we saw under the Trump administration how that worked. You put people back to work and producing the energy we need. You cannot stop and make a abrupt change and all of a sudden go to solar or power. It takes time to build that infrastructure. And we see and feel it at the pump right now, the president and his administration, and how they have just made drastic energy changes and how it is impacting the individual families out here. You take a family that lives in Lynchburg and a dad or a mom that has to drive to Roanoke and back every day for their job. Look how much money they're spending that is coming out of what they could be spending for their family. So I think we need to slow down. Certainly I'm not against solar or any other forms of energy, but I think we need to also realize that we have great resources. We are a cleaner environment, and there are certainly smarter ways we're doing that. So that's one thing I think we need to look at going forward. We cannot turn our agricultural lands into solar fields, because at some point, where's all that going to go? We have to be able to produce what we need here. We can't depend on foreign countries. We see the crisis that we're in now with these foreign countries, having to depend on our energy out here. And I think food is going to be the next critical crisis that we're going to have here, food production. So we need to be smart, take our time when it comes to finding new ways of new ways of energy. And certainly solar can be one of those, but I don't think it should be the total priority.
Sure. Yeah, that is definitely one that we're looking at. And so excited to see where we go from here. And, I think the message today is getting more involved so you can make a difference. And knowledge is power, and helping our kids to learn to get more involved in your community earlier on than later. And we can all make a difference. And so we thank you for all that you're doing. What's next for you?
Well, the next thing is just getting this budget done here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's the biggest thing that's kind of hanging over us. After that is looking at next year, because with redistricting, as people are going to find out next year, their legislators are going to be a lot different from what they are now. Here, Bedford County is now a big part of it is the 9th Congressional District. So you've got a Congressman Morgan Griffith's going to be here. I think a little bit of it is still the 5th District. So a lot of changes going about. And so we're going to start planning for that in the next year. We'll all have different localities to be representing. I love Bedford County. I love to keep serving Bedford County. But we'll have to wait and see where we land.
Yes, and I know there's much to do, much to get done, but with more voices and support, then I'm sure you feel we can accomplish much more and make a difference for our entire nation, not just our area and our region. And so we thank you for all that you're doing. Please come back and give us an update, and we'll look forward to hearing the good news that Delegate Wendell Walker has for us. Thanks again. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Great to be with you today, Wende. Thank you so much.